Wins have not been pleasant for Jim Zorn, a 10-10 record in his second year as head coach of the Redskins. We'll talk more about him and what's going on in D.C. throughout the game today. John Fox a year ago won 12 games, won a divisional championship. He is the winningest coach in Carolina franchise history, but an 0-3 start to this 2009 campaign.
Well, whether you're 8 seasons into it or 2 seasons into it, that clock's always ticking for the coaches, isn't it, Tom?
Well, you're not lying.
You're always on some type of hot seat.
You know that feeling. Carolina's won the toss, elected to receive. Sean Sweezum spins it away. And this is Jonathan Stewart from the 2-yard line. And Stewart dropped shy of the 20 by Chris Wilson. And that's where Jake Delhomme will put it in play. You see the 7 interceptions, the most among all quarterbacks in the NFL. He has also fumbled twice, so 9 turnovers in the first 3 games for the veteran Jake Delhomme. That has to change clearly here today. Jeff King in motion. They're going to pitch it to D'Angelo Williams. Chased by Albert Hainsworth and then dropped for a loss of nearly 5 on first down. Kedrick Golston there officially to make the tackle. And it is a fumble down at the bottom of that pile. Hainsworth has the football. The Redskins were signaling that the ball was loose. The officials were not gathered around the scrum, if you will, to see if indeed it was. It is a fumble and a turnover for Carolina.
Well, this took an awful long time for the officials to sort out. Obviously, Hainsworth breaking through the middle of the line right from the get-go. The ball from there clearly came out. It just took a long time, I guess, for the officials to determine who had possession of the ball. Great job by Hainsworth. John Fox starting out in a hole right from the get-go.
Turnovers have just killed this Panther team. So the Redskins get the football at the 13-yard line. Out of the I formation, they give it to Clinton Portis off to the right side, and he's down to the 10. That will be a gain of 3 on first down for Clinton Portis. Campbell, 27 years old, grew up in Taylorsville, Mississippi. You see, he's had a hard time getting started. Has played quite well in the second halves of games.
Well, he told us that because of the pressures on the offense and not scoring, that he was pressing a little bit in the early part of games and finally relaxing in the second half. He needs to start more relaxed from the get-go.
Been well documented the early part of this season. The Redskins have struggled in the opposition's red zone. Campbell rolling, lays it off, and Portis into the end zone. That is a touchdown for the Redskins. A minute and 6 seconds into this game, the Panthers turn it over, and the Redskins cash in. Portis his first touchdown since a season finale last year. And there's an injured Redskin on the field back at the 17-yard line. And that's their 6-time Pro Bowl left tackle, Chris Samuels. Samuels has already been dinged up the early part of this season.
This is a nice job by Jason Campbell. Obviously, Clinton Portis excited about getting involved. I want you to, right in here, you can't necessarily see it here, but they solided the front. They brought a lot of pressure back around the inside. Campbell just released to the outside, bought himself some time. Obviously, Carolina breaking coverage. Someone was supposed to be with Portis and did not.
So the touchdown by Portis, they contend to look after Samuels, and we're back in a moment. Point after for Sean Sweezum following the Clinton Portis touchdown reception. Good snap, good hold, and it's 7-0 Redskins. Not only the first touchdown for Clinton Portis since a season finale last year, but for the Redskins, the first time they have scored on an opening possession since week 11 last year against the Dallas Cowboys. The turnover, the fumble by D'Angelo Williams, leading to the Washington touchdown. For The Panthers will get it right back. Very short kick. Bobbled by Stewart. And he covers it up at the 19-yard line. So the Panthers off to a shaky at best start.
Well, right now the Washington Redskins are just playing at a different pace. I mean, we've had 2 kickoffs and 2 or 3 plays, but they're just playing at a more physical, faster pace than the Carolina Panthers are right now.
Spot the ball at the 18-yard line. Right back in the hands of D'Angelo Williams. And he picks up 3. 2nd and 7 upcoming. Take a look at Carolina offensively. D'Angelo Williams is a starter, but we mentioned we'll see Jonathan Stewart regularly throughout the afternoon. The electrifying Steve Smith still in search of his first touchdown reception this year.
And they're counting on this big offensive line. They got 2 first-round draft choices at tackle. They're counting on this big physical offensive line to establish that running game.
Pitch it to Williams. Breaks it to the outside. And then coming up to make the tackle is Reed Doty, who's back in the starting lineup at strong safety, replacing Chris Horton a week ago. Washington on defense. Daniels, Griffin, Haynesworth, and Carter. Haynesworth, of course, the big free agent signed from Tennessee during the offseason. Brian Arakpo, the #1 pick out of Texas, has a sack in back-to-back games, and we'll keep an eye on D'Angelo Hall and Carlos Rogers, the corners. You mentioned earlier, Coach, a lot of man-to-man coverage. And
they're going to have to hold up against a very explosive Steve Smith for Carolina.
3rd and 6. Delhomme nearly fumbled the exchange and just throws it away under heavy pressure, and there's a flag in the backfield. Delhomme nearly fumbled that ball coming away from Ryan Khalil, the center.
Holding, 67, offense. A penalties decline, 4th down.
And that was Khalil whistled for the hold.
You know, 3rd downs have been the burden to bear for the Carolina Panthers right now, Tom, because if you're not running the ball well, if you're not getting those big play action plays, you've got to sustain drives. And Jake Delhomme, his efficiency from the pocket, their 3rd down conversion rate right now is not getting it done.
Jason Baker to punt it away. Waiting is Antoine Randall-El, who's returned 5 punts for touchdowns in his career. Broke 1 tackle. And is stopped at the 27-yard line. Good news is the Redskins have a 7-0 lead. The bad news is their 6-time Pro Bowler injured on the touchdown pass to Clinton Portis. Chris Samuel sits down and gives way to D'Anthony Batiste, 3rd-year tackle out of Louisiana Lafayette.
Jason Campbell checking right early in the game.
Behind Portis. Out across the 30 to the 32-yard line. The Redskins have struggled and struggled mightily scoring points. Portis coming off a year which he rushed for better than 1,500 yards last season. Had a spat earlier in the week with his fullback, Mike Sellers. Samuel's already out of the game due to injury, and Mike Williams, a surprise starter at right guard, replacing Chad Reinhardt. Little delay to Portis, and he's very close to a 1st down. Needed to get to the 38-yard line. The Panthers are allowing 182 rushing yards per game. Nick Hayden and Damian Lewis have been gutted back up through the middle so far in this defense. Julius Peppers only 1 sack so far this year. They have Niall Diggs healthy again. And the big story health-wise, Chris Harris plays for the first time all year. Harris missed the first 3 games with a knee injury. Play action, they roll right. Catch is made beyond midfield by Antoine Randall-El, and that's another 1st down for the Redskins.
All right, we talked about the play action pass. Here you can see on the outside, number 12 is going to clear out. This is a simple stab move by Antoine Randall L. They've got their eyes in the backfield off the run game. Real easy run and completion for Jason Campbell. Just what they want to build off the run game.
1st and 10 at the Panther 49, and Portis still on his feet. Picks up 2 yards. 2nd and 8 is next. Play action. Campbell just throws it away wisely so. 2nd and 8 upcoming.
Tom, you talked about the Redskins starting with Mike Williams in at right guard. He's a 337-pounder. They felt like they needed the bulk inside. This Carolina front, particularly interior, is a little smaller than what you'll see out of these types of defenses in the NFL. So clearly the Redskins are wanting to get the running game cranked up, wanted more beef on the inside.
They've had injuries on the interior of that defense, going all the way back to training camp. Ake Kimo A2 injured his Achilles tendon and finished for the year. 3rd and 8. Campbell loses the football. It looks like the Redskins covered it up. Mike Williams has a hold of the football. It was stripped away by Everett Brown.
Carolina here on the right side went right after Batiste, coming in for the injured Samuels, and with getting no help on the left side.
Len Pakulak just signed as a punter this week after the injury last week to Hunter Smith. And Captain Munnerlyn out across the 25 out to the 27-yard line. Redskins taking advantage of an opening possession fumble by D'Angelo Williams. And getting a touchdown throw from Jason Campbell to Clinton Portis. It's 7-0. The Panthers, their 3rd possession of the game. Play action. And alone finds Muhsin Muhammad close to a 1st down. Muhammad, the franchise leader in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns.
Tom, Muhsin Muhammad can be a big part of this game because you got to know Washington's going to be focused on Steve Smith on the big plays down the field. So after these play action fakes, it's likely Jake Delhomme will look to Steve Smith and possibly come back to Muhsin Muhammad because he's the one that's matched up one-on-one.
Quick slant to Smith. He's still on his feet all the way to midfield, and another Panther 1st down. Locked up in one-on-one coverage with D'Angelo Hall.
You can see this is what's called their smoke route. You look right here in the front 7. This is a run. But Jake Delhomme, recognizing he's got the coverage he wants on the backside, just raises it up, and it's called a smoke route, just a one-step, get the ball out of my hands as quickly as I can to the explosive Steve Smith.
Smith, his 16th reception of the year. 8 of those came in one game against Atlanta. And I believe that Jim Zorn has challenged a call on the field.
I'll be interested to know what exactly is he's challenging, unless it's the spot.
I think it's a spot because initially there was contact made on Smith, but it appeared from where we sit that he remained on his feet.
Now, Walt Coleman may be telling Jim Zorn, I don't know that you want to challenge this. There is that kind of conversation.
The play is not reviewable for forward progress because it did not have to do with a 1st down.
And the officials, in this case Walt Coleman, will kind of educate us coaches, and I was as guilty of it as anybody, that your instinct is to challenge certain things, and what he's saying is, oh, we'll check the spot, but only if it can result in from a 3rd down to a 1st down. We really don't want to get caught up with the minutia of a spot on a 1st down play that's not coming off a 3rd down conversion.
And of course that could come on any down that would be converted then into a 1st down.
Correct. Although you can check a spot off a 3rd down play because whether you got it or did not get it. And
now a timeout has been called by Carolina. The Panthers looking for their first win of the year. They've started the season 0-3. They had last week off. The Redskins are 2-2. And every opponent they have played so far this season goes into the game without a win.
That includes the Giants now who started the season. I don't know that I'd classify them that way.
D'Angelo Williams breaks a couple of tackles, tries to turn the corner, and is run out of bounds at the 48-yard line. And our visit with D'Angelo Hall yesterday asked him about his relationship with Steve Smith, the Carolina receiver. He said, you know, when he was wearing me out back in my Atlanta days, we were real good buddies. He said then all of a sudden, when I started to make some plays against him, he didn't want to talk to me anymore.
And D'Angelo Hall knows that he can get into the head of Steve Smith a little bit. His plan is to frustrate him early, to get him jabbing at his quarterback a little bit and throwing off his game.
2nd down and 6, and Delhomme underthrows. Muhsin Muhammad under heavy pressure from Philip Daniels. The Redskins are pretty light along their defensive line due to a number of injuries.
Here you just see the pressure off the right side. You end up with a tight end one-on-one with the defensive lineman. When you put your protection out there to save your tackles a little bit and you go one-on-one with the tight end, I don't think that's the strength of any tight end. They're going to have to be careful about creating too many of those matchups today. Here's another critical 3rd down for Jake Delhomme. He's got to start converting these.
Draw to Williams, and defending, it looks like he's going to be a yard short of the 1st down. London Fletcher was there, and coming up to put a final stop on Williams was Chris Horton. And it looks like they're going to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, which is not much of a surprise here.
Oh, they changed their mind. They sent the punter out. And now he's coming back off the field.
They're trying to decide which way to go here. And this can't be a surprise. You're 0-3. You've crossed the 50-yard line. We got someone down here. Again, the Redskin down.
Well, it's a couple of weeks
Hainsworth.
now. Yeah, we've seen Albert Hainsworth go down. We saw it in Detroit. And now here in the opening quarter in Charlotte.
Well, this was the concern, too, when you shell out that kind of money, that $100 million contract, for a player of this stature. He has had some injury issues, and that has to be part of the equation. This would be a huge hit for them if he were to leave the game.
Hainsworth in each of the 5 years of the Tennessee Titans' great run here was among the top 5 vote getters in Defensive Player of the Year award. Signed the big deal with the Redskins. And while they take a look at him, as he comes to his feet, we will step aside. A 4th and 1. Well, we understand now we will keep it here for this 4th and 1 as Jake Delhomme walks over to the sideline trying to figure out what it is they're going to do. It's been a very odd first 8 minutes of this game.
And you're seeing a little frustration by Jake right now with the coaches, with the players, with the officials. And you know, Jake's a longtime veteran, has not been playing particularly well. He's a great guy. We said you can't not. If you don't like Jake Delhomme, it's you, because he's a heck of a guy. But I don't care how long you've been in this league. When you get these kind of pressures dropped on your shoulders, it's going to affect you.
So 4th down and really a matter of inches to convert for a 1st down.
With Hainsworth out, they may be more willing to just shove this thing right up the middle than they might have otherwise. Trying to draw him off sides with the snap count. Redskins aren't buying it.
And the crowd won't like this at all. And you know what? You can't blame them. You can't blame them. I mean, if you can't get 4th and 3 inches without the best defensive player on the other team in a lineup, I don't blame the fans for being a little upset.
This is a common tactic, but not when there is a timeout, an injury timeout. You give them a chance to regroup. You got to run that play in very quickly. Hope that the confusion, substitution, you get in there and maybe get them drawn off sides.
So after all that, the Panthers will punt it away. Randall L. from the 11, and that's where he's tackled. Good coverage. First down, Clinton Portis. Off to the right side. And he's out to the 14-yard line.
Tom, I've been talking to you about this 8-man box for quite a while. Let's look at what we're talking about. For the Carolina Panthers, it's taken Harris down into, you can see the number count very clearly, and it displaces the backers. This is a strong run front. Now let's watch what Washington does. They get the same thing done, but they tend to bring the safety more on the outside. It's a pure number count with much more man coverage on the outside. This is what we're going to be watching for all day.
Delay to Portis, and that did not fool Carolina defensively. So a third down is next for the Washington offense.
Both teams, we can see, are willing and committed to running on first and second down. This is a manageable third down. Anything longer than this, you're behind the count. But a 3rd and 5 falls into the category of the advantage is offense. And just like with Carolina, we got to see if this quarterback, Jason Campbell, can convert on a convertible 3rd and medium.
Liddell Betts stays in a block and then peels off out of the backfield, cuts it to the inside, and very close to a first down. Depending on the spot, it looks like he got there. He did. That's a first down for the Redskins. A good second effort there by Liddell Betts in his 8th season out of Iowa.
This is just you can see the free rush of the defensive line on a slow developing screen. Again, you don't expect this to be thrown to a big back. Nice job of both the center and the guard pushing out the first force from the defense. Just a good solid run at the end to convert the first down.
Marcus Mason, his first carry of the game, and it's a good one. Out to the 28-yard line. You know, we talked about Clinton Portis and Mike Sellers going back to the game. The loss at Detroit, you and I did that game, and apparently Portis was very upset, went to the coaching staff and complained that Sellers was not doing his job as a lead blocker. The two are friends, we're told. And of course, Portis was Sellers' biggest proponent of getting a trip to the Rose Bowl the Pro Bowl last year, which Sellers did for the first time in his 9th season in the NFL. Play action. Campbell dropped.
Well, Clinton Portis had every right to talk. Here you're going to see right here where Sellers, I want you to watch the way he approaches. This is a 4th down call against Detroit. This is way too passive for a fullback. We always taught the fullback, you've got to block like you've got the ball. Score with your block. I don't care where you go. Punch a hole in this defensive front. You can't go from gap to gap to gap. In that instant, Clinton Portis had a right to be upset.
3rd down and 7. Campbell still with a football and dropped to the 21 by Julius Peppers. And of course, next week the Giants, should they win that game today over Oakland, will go to New Orleans here on Fox for what will be a matchup of unbeatens, as Captain Munnerlyn has that one dribble out of bounds at the 40-yard line. So good field position for Jake Delhomme and the Panthers offense.
Now in this last sack, Tom, you can see we talked earlier about they've got a new left tackle in here, Batiste, so they leave the tight end to that side. They're going to take care of that left side. But what that means is here on the right side, you're going to turn a guy loose like Julius Peppers. Nice pressure on the inside. Peppers stays alive. There's always a price to pay. Yeah, you can double one guy, but that's going to leave someone else one-on-one.
A first down throw for Delhomme. What a catch in traffic by Jeff King, the tight end. And that's a first down to the Washington 45.
Now you would expect Carolina here inside the 50 to run the ball. This would be a great spot for Jake Delhomme to go vertical on the first play that you've crossed the 50. See if you can get one of those vertical play action fakes we opened the game talking about.
They give it to Williams. And he's inside the 45, down to the 42-yard line. That'll be a gain of nearly 3 for D'Angelo Williams, who rushed for a franchise record 1,515 yards last year, third most in the NFL. He led the league with a franchise record 18 rushing touchdowns.
And if Albert Haynesworth remains out of the game, they will test the interior of this Redskin line much more than they might have originally planned.
Lorenzo Alexander has replaced Haynesworth. Flag comes down as Williams is stopped at the 41-yard line, but we wait on the flag from our referee, Walt Coleman.
Holding, 68, offense, 10-yard penalty, still second down.
Kedrick Vincent, the right guard, early on. Delhomme has hit on 3 of 5. D'Angelo Williams, not much running room, and of course he has fumbled, which led to the game's only score. And Steve Smith on what you call a smoke route.
Smoke route. One step.
That's big league terminology.
I have no idea where it came from.
A 2nd and 17, blitz coming. Delhomme gets it away, and that's Smith, who got a big chunk of that yardage back. It'll bring up 3rd down and less than 5 for the Panthers on a 13-yard pickup.
Yeah, this goes right to what we're talking about. Anytime you can get a lot of people in the box, we can't see the linebackers right now, and this is just the subtlest of play-action fakes that allows that one-on-one coverage on the backside. And once he knows he's one-on-one, he has all the time he needs to turn these DBs around because he knows there's little or no underneath coverage. Another key 3rd down.
This one 3rd and 4. Delhomme sacked. Back at the 43-yard line. Brian Orakpo, the #1 pick out of Texas, now has a sack in 3 straight games.
Just coming off this edge, Jordan Gross, their #1 franchise player left tackle, against the rookie, schooling him up a little bit, but good energy by Orakpo.
Defense lined up in the neutral zone, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
That flag came from the far sideline, the Washington sideline.
And that's lethal. Boy, you give him another shot at now. That's huge. Lining up right from the get-go in the neutral zone. Interesting where that flag came from. Boy, it's lining up off sides in less than 35. That guarantees you a 1st down. Wow. In the Wildcat now.
Yes, D'Angelo Williams out of the Wildcat formation. And he takes it down to the 30-yard line. And that looks like it will be the final play of the opening quarter. Opening quarter, Jason Campbell, a touchdown pass to Clinton Portis after a fumble by D'Angelo Williams on Carolina's opening possession. So we begin the 2nd quarter, a 7-0 Washington lead. And after a big offsides penalty a moment ago by the Redskins, second life on this drive for Carolina. Williams lunges forward inside the 30, down to the 27, a 3rd down upcoming for the Panthers.
And Tom, this is what I'm talking about. You can see here the 3rd downs for the Carolina Panthers. Obviously a pivotal down, but they've been on the lower half of the scale. And now they're 24th in the league. If you're running the ball effectively and you're getting big plays off your play action pass, 3rd downs really don't matter that much. But when you're not doing those things, 3rd downs will kill you, and that's been the Achilles heel of the Carolina Panthers.
Panthers are 0 for 2 on 3rd down today. Normally in these situations they look for the tight end 88. That's Dante Rosario in motion. Instead, it's a slant to Muhsin Muhammad, and that is a 1st down, their first 3rd down conversion today.
And you had the right idea about going to a tight end, Tom, and Muhsin Muhammad on the inside is like going to a tight end. Jake Delhomme's got to love that size and physicality of a big receiver like Muhammad on that kind of down and distance, because like a tight end, he's so easy to see.
Of course, Muhammad in the second year of his second go-round with Carolina. Originally a second-round draft choice of the Panthers back in '96. And again, out of the Wildcat formation, D'Angelo Hall out of the shotgun. D'Angelo Williams, I beg your pardon. And coming up to make the tackle is LaRon Landry. Well, that's a good play by Landry, one of the rising young stars in the National Football League. Some of the early numbers around the NFL. Kansas City at the end of a quarter leading Dallas 3-0. We talked about Philadelphia already. The Giants 21-0 leaders over Oakland. Minnesota very little trouble so far at St. Louis. And the Steelers are on the road, a 1-point lead in Detroit without Matthew Stafford. After the loss of 2, this is Jonathan Stewart. And he's back to the line of scrimmage, so another third down, a lengthy third down upcoming for the Panthers as Albert Haynesworth has come back in for Washington.
And this was what I was talking about earlier. Without Haynesworth in there, that's going to change your game plan in terms of your ability to run inside. But with his presence inside, I'd be very surprised if the Carolina Panthers will test Greg Blosch's defense on the interior. They're going to keep it to the outside more.
Ninth play of the Carolina drive. Four-man rush on 3rd and 11. Wide open across the middle is Dante Rosario, and he's down to the 3.
There's your tight end, Tom. Nice call. You should have been my offensive coordinator. I'd still be coaching.
You'd have been fired long before that.
But there again on 3rd down, here you can see Jake Delhomme. You love big targets. Like I said, Muhammad or obviously Rosario here, your tight ends. They're so easy to see, particularly with the face of the rush right up in your face like that. Jake Delhomme loves these big receivers.
Stewart met at the line of scrimmage. Good play by Rocky McIntosh. 4th-year backer out of Miami.
Now this is a test for Carolina because they are built around running the ball. We talked about it. There are 2 first-round draft choices at tackle. 2 first-round running backs when you're talking about Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams. Big receivers. They're committed to running the ball.
Second and goal. Stewart again. And again, he has denied the end zone.
In the middle now, again, Albert Haynesworth. This is what you pay him right here in the middle. He plugs this thing up, and it's not just him. You can see right there, there are 2 guys on Albert Haynesworth. He's going to draw 2 blocks that puts everybody else on a one-on-one matchup that you got to believe as a defender you can win.
3rd and goal from a 2.
Little boot action here.
Williams tried a second effort, and right there to meet him head on was D'Angelo Hall, along with Landry, who made the first hit. So now decision time for John Fox. Do you go on 4th and goal at the 1?
Well, their commitment to the run, as I said, is very, very evident here. Right now, Washington, like we made the observation to start out, they're playing at a little bit different pace than Carolina right now. They're getting great get off. They've got that great bulk on the inside. If you're going to run it, you better keep it on the edges or try to boot and waggle your way around those edges. We'll see how committed they are to it here. This is a long 1 yard with Albert Haynesworth in the middle. Right here.
Timeout.
Jake saying get that play in here quicker.
Second timeout used in this half. Brian Billick, you're the play caller right now. What are you calling? 4th and 1.
It's less than 1, but I don't know that I'm going to test the interior of that line again. I'm going to put it on the edges or maybe a quick play action fake and see if I can get around the perimeter. I don't know that I'd test right down the middle.
Right down the middle and waiting on a signal. They gave it to the first man through. Brad Hoover, touchdown. Now Jeff King is holding the ball. Hoover took the handoff from Jake Delhomme. Hoover missed a Dallas game with an injured back.
This is an attitude center. You just shoved it up here 2 straight times, didn't gain an inch. And boy, he barely gets, I don't know. He just barely, I don't know how challengeable that is because you got to have a clean view. This official coming in right there clearly had to see that ball break the plane.
London Fletcher is very upset. And
the problem is, if Washington wants to challenge, are they going to get a view from that backside? You have no idea where the ball is. Jim's listening to his coaches right now. They're telling him challenge it, and they may be right, but I don't know that they have a view that shows that the ball didn't break the plane. Here you can see they're just shoving up the middle. I don't know that that's, again, it's got to be conclusive.
It was a 4th down play. 45 carried the ball. 47 recovered the ball in the end zone. Because of that rule, by rule, the ball goes over to Washington at the 1-yard line.
That's
the
right.
Ball goes back to the spot of the fumble. First down.
And just to make sure everybody understands, a rule put in, of course, where if Hoover, the original ball carrier, would have fumbled and then recovered in the end zone, it would have been a touchdown. But no other player is allowed to recover a ball in the end zone or advancing the ball other than the original ball handler.
This is the old Oakland Raider Dave Casper rule that happened years and years ago.
Carolina is challenging the rule on the field that the runner did not score a touchdown.
Now I'm going to reverse it now. The same angle that was hard for Washington to see, Carolina may not have the angle that shows this. Both coaches ready to challenge a very interesting play. It's now currently in John Fox's court. As we look at the play, here's what appears to be the question. As we run the play, at first, the running back, if he crosses the plane, it's a touchdown. But as the officials came together, you can see he's still alive. They're keeping the play alive. The ball is coming out. The official sees, let's see what the official sees that the ball was recovered in the end zone, but it's by the wrong man. Right now, Walt Coleman is looking for some help, someone to tell him what are we doing here. But the question, in my opinion, is was he still alive? Is there a view that gave me a look?
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. Fumble and then recovered by number 47. It'll be 1st and 10 for Washington. Carolina will be charged the 3rd and final timeout.
The problem for Carolina was the only thing that was going to turn it around is did the replay show the ball come out after he crossed the plane? Well, clearly here you can't see it. So the play is still alive. When this official running in, evidently the ball's on the ground and the ball is out. There's nothing there that convincingly tells Walt Coleman, no, he crossed the plane for the touchdown. You can't have someone else recover the ball in the end zone. Therefore, the Dave Casper rule makes it Washington's ball on the 1-yard line.
And that is on a 4th down play. Another player cannot recover that ball for a touchdown. And that was a 4th and goal play.
How often do we say a game of inches? You can see it right there. This is a game of inches.
Campbell just right behind his center. Casey Rawbach picks up 2, almost 3 yards. What was your feeling as a play caller that deep in your own territory on first down? Were you afraid to throw it much?
You know, I subscribe to the Bobby Bowden, maybe a bad example right now with all the Coach Bowden's going through. His philosophy was, don't get nervous because somebody's about to score. That was usually a great place to try a vertical pass.
Handed off to Portis, and that's a safety. Somebody's about to score indeed.
Absolutely, and this comes back to, obviously, we talked about the defensive line being a little light on the part of the Carolina Panthers. Washington buys a few yards on the sneak, trying to get to the edge. Great penetration.
So Julius Peppers along with Thomas Davis blowing up that offensive line of the Redskins. And it's a 7-2 game, and the Panthers obviously going to get the football back, as Glenn Pactolak will have to punt it from his own 20-yard line. Kenneth Moore, 81, Captain Munnerlyn waiting. Good punt. All the way back to the 12. This is Kenneth Moore. And covered well by Washington out to the 28.
Now, first off, you're going to see on this right side, Stephon Heyer just gets blown up by Julius Peppers. But Mike Sellers, now Mike Sellers is a heck of a fullback. But just like we saw earlier, here you're going to see Sellers. You cannot move laterally on either side of the goal line. We saw it going in and coming out. You've got to punch a hole in the defense. You've got to secure the edge. Mike Sellers is just skating along the line of scrimmage. He has got to be more of a factor in the shadow of your own goal line. I don't care which direction you're going than that. You can't move laterally on the goal line.
First down, DeLome sacked, and the ball is loose. And DeLome covered up the ball, but he is shaken up. He took a vicious hit from his backside from Andre Carter.
He said, my fault. You can see right there, and I think what he's referring to, you're going to see this pressure come off, or just at the last bit there. Jordan Gross is as good as there is in this league. I think what he was saying was my fault. I've got to step up in the pocket more. I think that's what we were seeing from Jake Delhomme.
Play clock to 32 seconds. 32 seconds, please.
And he paid the price for it, too, because he's the one that got hit.
It has been a tough start to this 2009 season for Jake Delhomme. We mentioned a league-high 7 interceptions. He's lost a pair of fumbles for a total of 9 turnovers. He was sacked 5 times the opening week against Philadelphia. And 9 times he's been sacked all year, and now make it 10.
You need to get this into a more convertible third down with 2nd and 14. They probably need a little short intermediate pass to buy him some yardage.
And they'll give it to D'Angelo Williams. Third down, a safe play, an unpopular call on the draw to D'Angelo Williams, and again Doughty up to make the stop along with London Fletcher.
And here's my problem with this. On a 3rd and long, you can slip a draw in there occasionally. When you're 2nd and 14 and you're just working yourself back to a 3rd and 10 on a Carolina Panther team that is not converting on 3rd downs and then run the draw, you're basically capitulating the series to a team that has a great deal of momentum now in the Washington Redskins.
Jason Baker booms one, sending Randall L. a fair catch at the 20. Well, both offenses have been pretty quiet. The Redskins a total of 43 yards. They got the turnover and cashed it in for a touchdown in the opening minute of the first quarter, and not much to speak of ever since. So a 1st and 10 for Campbell and the Redskins from their own 20, leading 7-2. Clinton Portis met head on by Chris Gamble and brings it out to the 27. Coach, are we seeing sloppy football so far today, or are we seeing a sense of urgency, desperation football from these two teams so far?
Both, because one leads to the other. When you recognize, as we said in the open, what's at stake here, that tension can lead to sloppy play, and I think we're seeing it on both sides of the ball.
Portis picked up 6 on first down. They throw it to Santana Moss, and they'll move the chains out to the 32-yard line.
Yeah, you look at the time of possession. This is the kind of ball game that Carolina wants to play. You'd look at this and say, okay, Carolina's in their wheelhouse. They're running the ball. They've probably gotten some big plays. But when time of possession doesn't translate to points or lead, it loses its value. Everybody says play good defense, run the ball, win the time of possession, but only if it translates to points.
And of course, Carolina unable to score on 4 attempts inside the 3. Campbell looking down the field, and there's Santana Moss. And he's to the 40. The ball is loose. Cooley looked like Johnny on the spot, or are they saying Moss was down?
Either way, Washington came up with the ball. This was a great job of the offensive line for Washington. It was a bogus play fake because as he came out, he lost. You can see Jason Campbell comes back, sticks the ball out there, but the back had to go the opposite way. This is just good protection. Jason Campbell stepping up in the pocket that we didn't see Jake Delhomme do just a minute ago.
Play action, rolling, and across the middle of the field. Catch is made by Antoine Randall. That'll be a gain of 9. Boy, that last pass play a moment ago, not that one, but the one before. How about the block by Clinton Portis, delivered on Julius Peppers to keep him away from Campbell?
Well, and that's why he was not there for the play fake. I'm sure the protection said, look, if you're threatened off that weak side, forget the play fake. Get back there and help that left tackle. Good veteran move by Clinton Portis.
And again, DeAnthony Batiste has replaced the injured Chris Samuels at left tackle for the Redskins. Where Portis was a step away from breaking a big one there. Nile Diggs, in his 9th season out of Ohio State, missed the Dallas game with a rib injury, came up to make the tackle.
Peppers is out of the game right now. Again, this is on these situations here, you hate to have your best players off the field, but this is why everybody builds such depth in their defensive line, so they can get rotation by that. Both clubs, you can see here, the rushing yardage not particularly impressive. No one's really made many big plays down the field. We come back to the time of possession as only it pertains to points. So neither club is really in a rhythm right now. Washington, a good key down. First down, we'll see if they want to maybe take this proverbial shot to the end zone on first down.
Is that what you would do?
You know, the Redskins a couple weeks ago when we had them, what was their big Achilles heel? It was red zone efficiency. They weren't getting scores once they got into the red zone. They need to be aggressive in the red zone so they don't fall into that same problem of doing nothing but kicking field goals.
Devin Thomas on a quick hit inside the 30, down to the 27-yard line.
This is just what we saw from Carolina. This was Washington's version of the smoke play. Everybody's coming into the box. I've got a run call, but I know I've got a free shot to the outside. I'm going to give a quick slant. They like Devin Thomas because he's a big physical receiver. This is what they want to see more out of this young receiver.
Only the second catch of the season for Devin Thomas, a second-round pick last year out of Michigan State. 3rd and short, flags litter the field. And Campbell dropped all the way back at the 34-yard line, the original line of scrimmage by Damian Lewis.
I think Damian Lewis got there because he was a little bit ahead of the count.
Offside, 92, defense, 5-yard penalty, and a first down.
Thus far in this second quarter, good numbers statistically by Campbell. Most of those have come on this drive. Portis, along with D'Angelo Williams, having a tough time getting started. Julius Peppers has been active, and he's back in the game now, trotting in from the sideline.
When Washington was having its trouble in the red zone early, they made a point. They need to get Chris Cooley more involved, particularly in the red zone. Chris Cooley over here.
Give it to Portis. He slips inside the 20, down to the 19-yard line. That'll be a gain of close to 3 for Clinton Portis.
Pepper's back in the game now, saying, I'm okay, I'm ready to go. I've gotten all the rest that I need. Really do feel like this is an area, two people that can really be effective in the red zone for Washington. Chris Cooley and Antoine Randall, because their abilities after they get their hands on the ball.
Takes us down to the 2-minute warning.
These are the numbers in the red zone that I was talking about, and the two players that you want to isolate. Cooley at the tight end position. They've got Antoine Randall lined up out here. These are the two guys they believe are going to be the key to their red zone efficiency.
And that's Randall in motion. And contact in the end zone, no flag. Santana Moss looking for a flag, covered by Richard Marshall.
Taking Santana Moss to the corner with Antoine. You're just going to see him work to the corner back in here with Antoine Randall pulling coverage off underneath. Actually a pretty good route. Ball gets overthrown like that, you're not going to get too many calls.
Ninth play of this drive. It's 3rd and 7.
Again, the same two players. Antoine Randall up here at the top in the slot.
And Jason Campbell says timeout. In our conversation with Jim Zorn, they talked about wanting to be a little more creative in the red zone to try and get better in these situations. You've talked about Randall, you've talked about Cooley. Right now, 3rd and 7. What are you going to call here?
You're going to have a tough time throwing the ball to the chain. So one of those two athletes, Cooley and Randall give you the best chance to throw an underneath throw and them getting the extra yardage on their own. Here's Randall up in here. Here's Cooley.
Pump fake one way. They were setting up the screen. A flag comes down. Heavy pressure this time from Tyler Brayton.
Holding, 78, offense, a penalty decline, 4th down.
That's DeAnthony Batiste, who's filling in for the injured Chris Samuels. Boy, that was ugly right from the start.
Well, there was no penetration by the defensive line, whether they skunked it out or not. There was nowhere near the penetration you needed to get a screen up and running. And keep in mind, we talk about down in the red zone how compressed the area is. You don't get the same drop of the linebackers as a screen inside the red zone.
Be a 38-yard field goal attempt. Remember now, they have a new holder in Glenn Paculak because of the injury to Hunter Smith. Good snap, good hold, good kick. Sean Sweezum, perfect this year, now 6 of 6. And the Redskins lead extended to 8. Well, certainly these coaches have to feel like they're on the fringe of the abyss. Now, the Washington Redskins, I mean, you're 2-2, but with all the pressure and all the ongoings in D.C., of course, earlier this week, the franchise hired as a consultant Sherman Lewis, who for many years was a coordinator, a successful one in the National Football League, but he had pretty much retired away from the NFL game. In fact, was jokingly calling bingo up in his home state of Michigan. Sherm Lewis came on board this week, starting to get to know some of the personnel, the players. He's very familiar with this West Coast offense scheme. But naturally, because of the track record of the owner, Daniel Snyder, and all the turnover as far as the head coaching job is concerned, it's only natural and certainly no leap of faith that people wonder about how secure is Jim Zorn's job. Kickoff fielded by Kenneth Moore, and he's tackled out to the 21-yard line. Now, we had a visit with Vinny Serrato last night, the Redskins general manager, and look, his explanation was, we brought in Sherman Lewis. I talked to Jim Zorn about this, and we brought him in as an extra set of eyes.
Well, and as my perspective is as a coach, we'll talk about that after this play, because obviously I have a view of this.
I know you don't like it.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about it after this play.
Bear in mind the Panthers are out of timeout. With 1:39 to play, they lost their final timeout on that challenge down at the 1-yard line. That's caught by Williams out to the 30.
Well, they're going to continue on with the no huddle here. They're under 2 minutes. Jake Delhomme, veteran quarterback, is now in charge of the 2-minute offense, and they obviously feel like they want to get in a scoring position at the end of the half.
Delhomme steps up and again lays it off for Williams. He's chopped down at the 40-yard line.
Here's the problem I have with bringing in Sherm Lewis, who is an outstanding coach. But you have a head coach who, by the way, the players love and respect Jim Zorn. But he's under fire right now. And yeah, you can bring in that extra set of eyes, but that tells your players, your organization, I got some serious issues here, and I'm not sure my head coach can handle it.
Far side caught by Muhammad. He'll stay in the field of play. Clock continues to run out to the 47-yard line.
The Washington Redskins, obviously, you do applaud. Okay, you want to do something, but I don't know bringing in a Sherm Lewis, who's an outstanding coach, is the answer or the message you want to send to your players.
Slant caught, and right there to make the stop on Steve Smith was Justin Tryon. Crowd didn't like that play call. They got him a first down, but the clock continues to run.
It's got to be an outside throw or you're going to run out of clock.
Clock stopped with 11 seconds to play until halftime.
See, now with 11 seconds, you got one of two choices. You're going to have to throw it down the field in a Hail Mary type of pass. I'm not sure that you're going to have the time to get. It's got to be an outside route or the half is over. And Washington knows it's got to be an outside route. So offensive coordinator here, Jeff Davidson, has to make the decision. Am I going to go for the end zone, or do I have the time to let my veteran quarterback sneak a 7 route, an intermediate route? You're going to have to get this ball to the 35-yard line minimum to give you any chance. You're not going to get 2 throws here.
Of course, they have one of the great long-range kickers in the history of the NFL, and John Casey. And this is Stewart. He'll tiptoe out of bounds with 5 seconds left.
I'm not sure that they're not just caught in the Hail Mary mode here and have to put the ball up down in the end zone and hope to get lucky.
Well, they go trips to the far side. Washington
right, here's where it's going to base on.
3 defenders all the way back at the goal line. So Delhomme going to step up and air it out. And it's out of bounds on the catch, and that will be the final play of the opening half. Well, the second half is underway. Rock Cartwright from the goal line with Washington leading 10-2. And he's out to the 23-yard line. Some of the numbers in the first half, we talked about it before the game, Brian. Both teams love to run the football. Neither team did it in the first half.
No, it's just not happening. And because of that, all the things attendant to it. You're not getting the big play action passes down the field for the big chunks of yardage. It's putting Carolina in a position where they've got to convert on those third downs. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of why these teams are in their current position. Red zone inefficiency by the Washington Redskins.
And for the Panthers, the one turnover, the only turnover in this game, resulting in the only touchdown of this game. Clinton Portis on first down is met by John Beeson, the middle linebacker. A Pro Bowler a season ago was Beeson.
And both teams now, you can't fault the teams for wanting to stay with the plan. I mean, they're both trying to run. No one's given up on the run here and panicked. But they've got to get more effectiveness out of the run. It's one thing to run the game, to set up the passing game, but if you're not running well, defenses then don't have to adjust that give you those opportunities to throw the ball down the field.
Should be noted on the injury front, we do not expect Crick Samuels to return to the lineup. Suffered a stinger very early in the game and has since been replaced by DeAnthony Batiste at left tackle. And that's a big hit if you're trying to get your running game cranked up, not having your 6-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle on the field.
And in the passing game with regards to protection, where you may not have turned a lot of protections to the left side or had the tight end or back over there, you now have to alter your protection schemes to account for that change at the left tackle position.
Third down and a yard. Cooley is in the backfield along with Liddell Betts. And that's Cooley in motion. Draw to Betts. And that's a first down out to the 39-yard line.
Now, if Washington can keep this up, if they can keep this rhythm, the best part about if your running game gets cranked up, it allows you to have a little rhythm in your play calling. You look at that 2nd and 5, 2nd and 6 category on your play sheet, there's a lot of good options in there. 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, you never like what's on that list because you got a lot of ground to cover.
Marcus Mason is checked into the backfield along with Mike Sellers. Play action, and that had no chance. You know, as many detractors as Jason Campbell has, one thing we have seen in this game today, more times than not, he is under enormous pressure before he even gets into a 5 or 7 stop drop.
And what's interesting is you're going to see this coming from the outside. Damian Lewis, with a little stunt, brings that pressure in from the inside with pressure by the backer outside. Jason Campbell talked about how the thing he doesn't like about play action, as much as it's a big part of their game, he turns his back to the defense and has no idea of what's coming down and bearing down on him.
4th time that Campbell has been sacked in a game today. Caught by Randall L. He's out to the 38-yard line. 3rd down, a long 3rd down coming up for Campbell and the Redskins.
But I like that play call on the part of Washington because certainly 3rd and 10 is a lot easier, or 3rd and 11 and 12 is a lot easier than 3rd and 15, 3rd and 17. We saw Carolina run a draw in that same situation and have that longer down and distance. Jim Zorn going to give his quarterback Jason Campbell a more convertible 3rd down distance.
Empty backfield for Campbell out of the shotgun. And again, a 4-man rush, and Campbell has to escape trouble and drops it off to Fred Davis, who is dropped at the 43-yard line by Captain Munnerlyn.
Julius Peppers, again, one of the dominant players in the game. Munnerlyn down. It's that kind of physical game. We've seen a lot of guys on the ground injured, Tom. Boy, don't leave your feet. I hate it when players leave their feet. At some point, somebody's going to get hurt because you have no base. Bodies are flailing around in the air.
So while they check on Captain Munnerlyn, we'll step aside very early in the 3rd. Carolina set to get the football for the first time here in the 2nd half, trailing the Redskins 10-2. Glenn Pactolak, his first punt as a Redskin, 36 yards. He lays into this one and kicks it into the end zone, so Carolina will get it at the 20, but there is a penalty flag down back at the line of scrimmage. So again, we wait to hear from Walt Coleman.
Ineligible downfield prior to the kick, 45 of the kicking team. That 5-yard penalty will be assessed from the 20-yard line. First down, Carolina.
Washington leading 10-2. Carolina gets a football for the first time here in the 3rd quarter. Next to no rushing game at all, really for either team, but especially for the Panthers. Play fake one way, through the hands of Hoover and nearly intercepted. Well, you take a look, Clinton Portis now, of course, his touchdown, the only touchdown for either team in the game, was a receiving touchdown, but right at 3 yards per carry, far less than that for Mr. Williams.
And neither team has established the run. Right now, Clinton Portis obviously wanted to put the game on his back. Carolina, their whole team is built around the ability to run the ball. Right now, they're averaging 1.5 per run. That's not going to hold up.
They pitch it to D'Angelo Williams. And again, just nowhere to go. A third down and long upcoming for the Panthers. Some numbers around the National Football League. Kansas City now in the third quarter with a 7-point lead over Dallas. The Giants trying to stay unbeaten, setting up that clash next weekend on Fox against New Orleans. A good one-year-old team, a 7-3 Baltimore lead over Cincinnati, the top two teams in that division.
Cincinnati playing good defense, holding that high-powered Ravens offense to just 7 points. And I think that 7 points came off the defensive turnover.
Third down and 8. Delhomme steps up and through the hands of Muhammad and intercepted by D'Angelo Hall. Inside the 20, the 10, to the 5, and down to the 1-yard line on the 8th interception thrown by Jake Delhomme this season.
This one play encapsulates exactly why Carolina is 0-3. Jake Delhomme, you got Muhammad here at the top, throws the ball a little high on a 3rd and long, high and behind. The ball gets tipped off, an inaccurate throw, being in a 3rd and long, and a turnover. Those are the two things that have Carolina now at 0-3, and with Washington on the goal line.
D'Angelo Hall, his 3rd interception of the season. He had a big one as well last week in the win over Tampa Bay. Flags all over. Will blow it dead before it gets started.
Neutral zone infraction on the defense, half the distance to the goal. Still first down.
Tom,
how does that happen?
Well, yeah, you're trying to get a jump, of course, from the defensive standpoint. I'm just trying to get a jump on the ball. So what are you going to do? You know, half the distance? Okay, it's a half a yard. It's when the offense jumps off sides down here that drives you nuts. In this situation, the defense has to decide, are we going to stop the run or the pass? If they're running and we're run stopping, we're going to hit them. If they're going to play action and we're trying to run stop, it's a touchdown.
3 tight ends. They give it to Portis, who leaps over the pile. A touchdown for Clinton Portis. His first rushing touchdown since the season finale last year at San Francisco.
Well, obviously your red zone percentages are going to go up if you start that red zone drive on the 1-yard line. That helps. But right now, Jim Zorn on the road has got to be feeling good about the way his team is responding to the adversity and pressure we've talked about.
Now Sweezum for the point after to make it a 17-2 game, and that he does.
Tom, those 1-yard runs must be a lot more taxing than I realized, because if you need oxygen after a 1-yard run, that was a hard 1 yard.
I know how he feels.
Yeah,
he was airborne. That might have been over Mile High
altitude. The guy who deserves it is D'Angelo Hall. He ought to reach over and say, hey, man, give me some of that. I'm the one that ran the thing back 40 yards.
This Carolina offense needs some oxygen. Trailing 17-2. Still a long way to go. They have 25 minutes and 6 seconds still left of football in this game. Kenneth Moore out of Wake Forest from the 5. Out across the 20. This will give him some life with a man to beat. And out of bounds. Looked like Carolina may have gotten away with a hold there towards the end of that run. No flag on the play, and they say he was shoved out of bounds at the 40-yard line of Washington. Devin Thomas pushed him out of bounds.
And here on the return, this is just a good job on special teams. Sets it up, gets to the outside. You want to push those back to the inside where your defenders are. Just gets him out of bounds here. Boy, he had one step. He was one step away of maybe coming out of this. This is what Carolina had to have. They were getting to a mode where they're going to have to get away from what they do best. This allows Carolina and Jake Delhomme now to stay with their game plan, which is run the ball, set up the play action fake.
Jonathan Stewart in the backfield replacing D'Angelo Williams. And batted in the air and nearly intercepted. Andre Carter got a paw on it, and Horton nearly coming away with the interception.
This is one of the difficulties with this smoke. Look at the tackle pull. There is nobody on Carter because this was a run play, as we said before. It's one where Jake Delhomme can pull that thing out, put it out to the weak side to Musa Muhammad or Steve Smith, but there's no one blocking that end, and it gets shoved right back in your face sometimes.
Play action, Delhomme, good protection, guns it over the field, and it's caught by Steve Smith, and boy, he took a pair of licks. One by LaRon Landry, the other from London Fletcher. That's a big-time catch right there by Smith.
And that was a great throw, too. After the play-action fake, he knows he has to have it to go up above the linebackers. He's got to trust Steve Smith to be where he's supposed to be on a throw like that, throwing it into where only he can come up with it.
London Fletcher hobbled off the field on the far side. First down at the 22, and this is Stewart to the 16. I talked about D'Angelo Williams last year, running for over 1,500 yards. Don't forget Stewart is a rookie, ran for nearly 900 yards.
And like so many teams in the league, they're committed to this two-back principle, that we're not going to have one guy with better than 300 carries. It bodes well for the entire season. Right now, they'll take the running yards from anybody they can put back there.
A 5-yard gain for Stewart on first down. Play action, Delhomme. Lofts it to a wide open Jeff King, a touchdown. All right, Coach, do you go for two? I mean, you were down before that touchdown, 15, so sooner or later you got to go for two.
Correct, but most people will say they'll wait till the fourth quarter. It's too early. We're only 8:31 in the third quarter. Again, here's the play-action fake. Jake Delhomme, he does do this well. He buys every last second the ability to throw the ball in a less than classic throwing position. Again, we come back to the size of his tight ends, the size of Musa Muhammad to be able to throw the ball up to come up with a score.
Point after is good by John Casey. We have a ball game here in Charlotte, 17-9. The Panthers get a touchdown for the first time today on the 17-yard reception by Jeff King. His first touchdown of the year.
Carolina is a team that's built on the total team concept we've talked about. You play good defense, you run the ball, you set big plays up off the play action pass, and your special teams have to be a factor. If indeed Carolina can crawl back into this game and win this game, it's because they played as a complete team, and you'll take it anywhere you can get it, and in this instance more on the kickoff return may be that catalyst.
With Moore giving him that big return leading to the touchdown. It's only week 5 of the NFL season, but for Jim Zorn and for John Fox, the head coaches of these two teams, this certainly feels like a must-win here today.
And you know what's sick about this? They're loving it. They're loving just where they are right now, the adversity, the challenge of it all. I promise you.
Washington with a 17-9 lead. A handoff to Clinton Portis for a hard 2. It'll bring up second down and 8. Jason Campbell has been under enormous pressure in the game here today. He's been sacked 4 times. Very little in the run game, but the 1-yard touchdown plunge by Portis gave him at the time a 17-2 lead before Carolina just answered with its own touchdown.
I know we talked about running the ball and setting up the big plays off the play action fake. I'm not sure I wouldn't let Jason Campbell just drop straight back and try to make some plays looking at the defense from the get-go.
Wanted that smoke route one way, comes back to the other side, and Kelly takes a lick from Richard Marshall, and Malcolm Kelly appears to have enough for a first down.
You know, we've made a big point about big plays coming off the running game and the play action pass, but in visiting with Jason Campbell, as we talked about, he's been pretty efficient in the passing game, unlike Jake Delhomme that will tell you, you know what, that's not me. I'm not a drop back, sit in the pocket type of guy. Jason Campbell's shown he can do that. I'm not sure they don't press that a little bit here.
First down, they give it to Portis. But you really got to hand it to these two defenses. I mean, we can talk about the struggles of these two teams offensively, and really you could spend an hour and a half talking about those woes for each club. But on defense, both of these teams have come to play today.
And this is really the first game that Carolina has played with all hands on deck. Getting Niall Diggs back, getting Chris Harris back. They've not had these guys for a while, so they have been playing shorthanded defensively.
Harris missing the first 3 games of the season with that injured knee. And Campbell fakes it one way, throws low. That's a nice catch by Portis. That is not an easy reception. And what a difference, 3rd and 10, if he doesn't catch it, as opposed to now 3rd and 3.
And if he catches this here, Jason Campbell under duress pulls it back down. If he were able to hit Clinton Portis, and that is a great catch, where he can catch that thing on the run, he might have done a whole lot more damage with that.
Campbell 11 of 14 has hit 7 different receivers in the game. And now an important 3rd down.
Well, they converted 2 out of 6 up to this point. Probably none more important than this one right here.
Batted down and a flag comes in. Captain Munnerlyn over the back of Santana Moss.
It's all about timing. When do you get there?
Pass interference, 41. Defense. Ball placed to the spot of the foul. First down.
Yeah, you can have contact in the first 5 yards, but when you get a hold of the pads like that, a lot of pressure inside. But he had contact, had a hold of that pad right from the get-go. I'm afraid that's going to get called every time.
So a fresh set of downs for the Redskins at their own 44-yard line, leading 17-9. 6 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Same route, different receiver. This time Devin Thomas. Talked about the defenses and both so stingy today. And the quarterbacks, they are feeling the heat.
And part of this stems from the fact that we've seen it both. Most of the passing game is coming out of play action fakes. And good and bad, right? Play action fakes, you can move the safety, affect the drop of the backers for a big play. But when you turn your back to that pressure, it can be a long day.
Campbell threads the needle to Thomas for a force down to the 45-yard line. That's Liddell Betts, and maybe got back to the line of scrimmage.
Now, Chris Cooley talked to us about the pride he takes in blocking, but he's going to have to do a whole lot better than this. You got to maintain contact. You're not going to overpower anybody if you're Chris Cooley, but you got to at least maintain contact. He gets thrown around by Tyler Bratton like he wasn't there.
Cooley has not caught a pass in the game today. And he has the 4th most receptions in the NFC coming into play. He stays in the block. Campbell looking around, rolling, and throws it away. When a quarterback has that much time, Coach Billett, how does a receiver not get open?
Well, keep in mind, though, when you buy that much time rolling out, you've also cut the field in half. You don't have the same range, so now the defenders, you've got half the field. It begins with from the hash down, and then all of a sudden it's from the numbers down. Because what do we tell a quarterback? Don't throw back across your body. You limit the range of where he can go.
9th play of this drive. Spanning 35 yards so far. Campbell to Randall. That's a first down if the play stands. There is a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage. This one may come back.
Illegal formation on the offense, number 78. lined up in the backfield. 5-yard penalty, still third down.
That's Chris Samuel's replacement, DeAnthony Batiste.
And I guarantee you he's lining up deep. Here we're going to see as he comes out here on the left side, he's been getting beat off that edge. He's trying to grab that extra step, that extra separation from that rush defensive end, and you have got to, your helmet's got to break the plane of the offensive center.
So a 3rd down and 11 goes to 3rd and 16.
Now Jim Zorn trying to dial something up here. Again, give the defense credit. They know how far you have to go as well. You'll see these types of throws and people say, well, why don't you throw it down so the catch gives you the first down? Well, you know what? The defense knows that too. In this down and distance, you typically have to drop it off underneath and let the receiver gain the rest of the yards with his legs.
Campbell looking around, drops it off to Fred Davis, and the ball is loose, and Carolina has the football. You talked about Davis and leaving his feet. He had him taken out from under him by Thomas Davis, and then lost the ball. That's the first turnover of the game for the Redskins.
I don't know. Todd Heap, my tight end in Baltimore.
Don't mean to interrupt you here, Coach. Are they saying that's not a fumble? Everybody kind of standing around wondering what the officials are calling.
Let's see if the proverbial the ground cannot cause a fumble. Let's see if that's what they're saying.
Yep, looked like the ground caused a fumble.
Yeah. Keep in mind that when a receiver is engaged, the ground cannot cause a fumble.
All right, now it'll bring up 4th down and 2. If you're the Redskins at the 37, would you be going for it here? And apparently Jim Zorn is thinking about that.
Yeah, I would. What's a punt going to do but gain you about 12 yards?
So the Redskins going to talk about it, spending a timeout.
Yeah, it looks like they're going for it. You know, and I agree here with Jim Zorn. You got a new punter. You don't know what his capabilities are. Even if you kick it into the end zone, you've gained 12 yards. And I have jokingly said earlier, there are 19 things better than kicking into the end zone. Anywhere you can kick that, but with the new punter, yeah, why not go for it here?
4th down. Washington 4 of 7 on 4th downs this season.
Showing pressure.
Batted down by Davis. So the 4th down try fails.
And here's the problem. When you know pressure is coming, so does that DB. He knows the quarterback's got to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Played it very well. If they could have worked a double move, a slant and go, and given Jason Campbell just a little bit more time, they might have had a big vertical shot down there. Nice job by the corner, recognizing how quickly the ball needed to come out.
London Fletcher is back in defensively for the Redskins. LaRon Landry is not in the game. At free safety, Jonathan Stewart to the 40. That'll be a gain of 3. 2nd down and 7 for Carolina. If you're a fantasy league player, you're not real thrilled with anybody on either team so far here today statistically.
There again, the inability to run the ball, given the commitment of this team. I'm talking about the Panthers with the line they have, the 2 first-round running back. They only have 4 wide receivers on this roster because they want to carry the extra fullback. Their commitment to the running game is complete, and they're just not getting what they need out of it right now, or at least thus far.
Play fake to Stewart. Delhomme finds Smith to the Redskins 43.
You can see here we got a whole bunch of folks in here. That's why it's been so hard to run the ball. And this is where the play action fake we keep talking about opens up. You can see now the separation, the play action fake that opens up that alley in behind the linebacker that has to clear the run.
17-yard pass completion to Smith. who now has 5 catches for 65 yards. This is Muhsin Muhammad. Nice open field tackle made by D'Angelo Hall.
There's that smoke route we talk about again. And typically you don't do that with a big receiver like Muhsin Muhammad, but he's pretty good at it. You'd much rather do it with a Steve Smith because he can make the first guy miss. Muhsin Muhammad's probably just going to run him over. But this is nothing more than an extended handoff. If you ran the ball and got 4 yards, you'd say, you know what, that's a good running play. Well, that suffices.
LaRon Landry back in for Washington defensively. It's 2nd down and 6 from the Redskins 38. Fake the pitch to Stewart. Delhomme across the middle. It's Muhammad. First down to the 23-yard line. That will be the final play, it appears, of the 3rd quarter. So after things were rather stale and stagnant offensively in the first half, things beginning to loosen up a little bit here in the 3rd quarter.
Look at the action that the little pitch fake gives you. It gets everybody flowing.
17-9 at the end of 3 quarters at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. Alongside Brian Billick and our entire Fox crew, Tom Brenneman, great to have you with us on this Sunday afternoon. The Panthers looking for their first win of the year. Redskins at 2-2. It's been a shaky 2-2. Trying to get to a game over 500. Shake Delhomme looking around to the end zone and batted away. Outstanding coverage. Double coverage back there by Carlos Rogers and LaRon Landry.
That ball needed to go up a little bit quicker. You could see here on the matchup, Steve Smith needed that ball. He has to slow down there to adjust to it. Had he been able to get the ball up and down a little bit quicker, he wouldn't have had time for the secondary to react the way that it did and almost intercept the ball.
2nd and 10. D'Angelo Williams cuts it back to the inside. Wow, what a collision. Rocky McIntosh, and immediately they signal for the sideline. They knew as soon as the hit took place that Rocky McIntosh was injured.
Good thing is you see how quickly he's moving around, so that's the good news.
Cedric Golston also shaken up for the Redskins. We'll be right back. Carolina trailing 17-9. Rocky McIntosh appears to be okay after that collision a moment ago. 3rd down and 8 at the Washington 21-yard line.
Rosario's where he went last time.
Sacked is Delhomme. Back of the 25. Hainsworth was there, among others. Arakpo and Andre Carter.
Here's a great view of the play where Rocky McIntosh got hurt. And this is exactly why you're constantly coaching up. See what you hit. As you come in here, you see McIntosh coming in right here. He drops his head. You don't want to tackle with dropping your face mask. That's for protection for the tackler, not the ball carrier, Tom.
43-yard field goal try for John Casey, who has not missed so far this season and still hasn't missed. John Fox in his 8th year at the helm of the Carolina Panthers. We mentioned the winningest coach in franchise history, but he's gotten there in roller coaster-like fashion.
Well, and that's the bugaboo that around the league. You win one year, you don't win the next. That's what drives owners crazy, and that's the pressure that John faces right now, quite frankly.
Cartwright will take a knee, and the Redskins will get the ball at the 20. The Carolina Panthers, in the entire history of the franchise, John Fox head coach or anybody else, never had back-to-back winning seasons, and they're off to an 0-3 start after 12-4 a year ago.
And that's what that organizations and ownership look at. You look at the Atlanta Falcons, in 43 years have never had a back-to-back winning season. This franchise, 14 years old. And it's that back and forth, win one year, you get the tougher schedule, then you lose the next year. That's what John is battling right now.
And by the way, their schedule this year is the second toughest in the NFL behind only Miami. The easiest schedule in the league belongs to the Chicago Bears. Campbell rolling, and steps out of bounds. Lost a half yard.
Washington's got to respond here emotionally, Tom. You and I are always talking about how teams respond to the ebb and flow of the game. It's not been pretty, but Carolina has battled away. They're feeling pretty good about themselves right now. It's too early to say this is a must drive, but Washington coming away with 3 points would be huge for them right now, if not a touchdown.
Campbell throws to Santana Moss. That'll be a gain of 5. 3rd down and 5 for the Redskins.
There again, I think a good play call by Washington and Jim Zorn. Get into that manageable third medium distance right now. Jim Zorn is much more comfortable with his third medium calls than he is the third and long calls.
And still today, not a single catch from their leading receiver, tight end Chris Cooley, who has caught a pass in 76 consecutive games.
Cooley right here. This is the down and distance that a player like Cooley could be huge.
Instead, it's the other tight end, Fred Davis, and that's not going to cut it. He's a yard short of the first down.
Nice open field tackle by Beeson. One of the most difficult things to do for a defender. Here he sees running. This is a solid open field tackle. Sometimes you try to take him out. If you don't come in with enough force, he drags you for the first down. Great open field tackle by the veteran linebacker.
That's dragging down a guy that weighs 260 pounds on the spot.
And a pretty good athlete.
So now Glenn Pakalak punts from his own 15-yard line. And a very short kick. Kenneth Moore brings it out to the 34-yard line. Reed Doughty nicked up a moment ago. He's out of the game for the time being. Of course, it was last week he took over as starter, replacing Chris Horton, and Horton now replaces him. Carolina trailing by 5. 12-12 to go. And this drive begins at their own 34-yard line. Jonathan Stewart plows his way across the 45 and shoved to the 47 by Jeff King.
And that's the kind of run that the Carolina Panthers and their offensive line love. That's just body on body. That's a rugby scrum. That's just road graders. I'm pushing, you're pushing. Extra yardage in, cover up the ball. What's been the bugaboo for the Carolina Panthers? Turnovers. So you love that extra yardage, but secure the ball.
That is the longest run by a Panther today, a gain of 12. Alone to throw it. Had an eye on Stewart, and a late flag comes in.
I think this is going to be against the linebacker.
London Fletcher is 59. He was in coverage.
Prior to the pass, illegal contact, 98. Defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's a rookie, Arakpo.
Yeah, they're asking him to do a lot, Tom, and he's an outstanding player. In my opinion, anytime he's not rushing the passer, you're not doing what he does best. But they want to build him into a complete player. They say he's a very mature player. And typically, he probably didn't get away with something there that you typically do get away with, because very rarely is that kind of infighting between a linebacker and a tight end or a running back call.
Stewart looking for a hole. Rolls off one tackler and spins his way inside the 45 down to the 44. So all of a sudden here we are in the final 12 minutes and Carolina beginning to get a feel in the run game.
And what did we hear yesterday from Jeff Davidson, the offensive coordinator? He says with as much 8-man front as we're seeing, at some point that back has got to beat that 8th man or that 7.5-man advantage that defenses are trying to run. Jeff Davidson is counting on his 2 first-round running backs making those kind of runs.
Play fake. Overthrew Brad Hoover. It's good coverage up there by London Fletcher. Second down.
And it's the kind of plays that we anticipated coming in. Again, you're seeing hard run-stopping defense. Again here, boy, we've seen a lot of Redskin players down, Tom. Here's another one.
That's Phillip Daniels. And we talked about how thin they were already due to injuries along their defensive line. Anthony Montgomery inactive again this week. They just let Ronaldo Wynn go when they had to activate the punter Glenn Pakulak. So really they came into this game with only 7 healthy bodies along the defensive front.
And in today's NFL, you have to have fresh defensive line bodies. Everybody puts a premium on rolling guys through that defensive line so late in the game you have that kind of defensive presence.
Both teams struggling on 3rd down offensively. 3rd and 5. Who do we look for? Coach Billick.
He's gone to Musa Muhammad or the tight end. Big number 88 in the middle. Those are your best options. The easiest to see. Easiest to get the ball to.
That's the tight end Rosario in motion that you were talking about. And dropped in the backfield. Another sack. Andre Cutting. 3rd sack for the Redskin defense on Jake Delhomme, and that's the biggest one so far.
Coming off this left side, again, you got Jordan Gross there. None better in the league. Nice transition move. Gross drops his shoulders, gets beat around the edge. That's not Jake Delhomme not stepping up in the pocket there. Jordan Gross just got beat.
Baker, a very high punt and a short punt. And a flag will come down here. Now they're saying the ball belongs to Carolina, but it looked like there was contact made, was there not, on the player receiving the ball, or was it his own man that ran into it?
Well, that's what they're going to determine right now. A lot going on. Looked like Carolina shoved a Redskin defender back into the punt returner at that point.
Looked like Byron Westbrook was the one who ran into Antoine Randall.
And they're right to sort this out right now. A lot went on there to just arbitrarily pull a flag. They're discussing this as they should. And it's as simple as Walt Coleman in the white hat saying, what did you see? What did you see? Let's sort this thing out.
And it should be noted there is not a flag down on the field. That's Quentin Teal who shoves Westbrook into Randall.
And in that instance, that does not leave you unimpeded to the ball. Let's see what they saw.
There's no foul for fair catch interference. The player was blocked into the receiver, but we have illegal touching by the kicking team. So it'll be 1st and 10 for Washington.
I'm having a hard time understanding that. Are you?
Until the ball hits the ground, the receiving team in any form or fashion has a right to field the ball. And so the kicking team cannot initiate contact with the ball first. We saw this earlier in the year with the bobbled punt in Tennessee, where it was up in the air and it looked very apparent that it should have been Tennessee's ball. Now they're rediscussing it. Let's see what they want to talk about. It's very clear what happened here. Westbrook gets shoved into the receiver, but it hits the Carolina player first.
There's a correction. We had the ball touching the receivers first, which gives the ball 1st and 10 for Carolina.
And that's the difference. Had it hit the Carolina player first, Washington has the right to receive the punt, but they're saying it looked like, we could see it on the replay maybe, if it hit the Washington player, it must have hit him in the leg as it was coming. You can see right here. I'll see if we can spot shadow it here. I don't know if I can see it quick enough. Clearly gets pushed into there.
Oh, it hit,
right there. You saw it hit his foot.
Yep.
So that's the right call. Washington touched the ball first. That now opens the door for Carolina to get the ball. Huge break for Carolina on a 5-point game.
You think? And I think Jim Zorn now is going to challenge this call.
And I think if he's doing so, it's hope against hope that the replay will definitively show it didn't hit his man first.
Washington is challenging the ruling on the field that the ball touched his receiver.
And keep in mind, they ruled the ruling now, after they replayed it or after they discussed it, is that there was that Washington touched it first, so it has to be conclusive that that's not the case. No, and that if they see that, I can't imagine. That clearly hit the Redskin player's leg first. This challenge is going to go against the Redskins. And Carolina's going to have the ball. That's a lot to sort through, and I give the officials credit for sorting through, making sure to try to get it right. They corrected themselves, Walt Coleman initially, and had that been what had happened, had it hit the Carolina player first, that would have been the right call. But right now, Jim Zorn's hope against hope that some angle shows that it doesn't hit the Washington player, but right there sure looks like it hit him in the foot.
And again, the rule is if it hits anybody on the receiving team, not just Randall L., who's back there as a punt returner, it's anybody wearing a Redskin uniform.
But they clearly have a right to field that ball prior to the illegal touching, as he talked about, from the kicking team had it gone that way first.
And by the way, Dante Wesley was the one who covered up the football.
You know, Jim or Tom, we talk about from the get-go.
You can call me Jim. It's all right. It's a long year. Call me a lot of things because I've called you a lot of things.
On and off the air. We've talked about the pressure on these guys, and as a coach, this is the life you live. Some guy's going to stick his head in the booth right now and come out and tell you what your fate is. This is what these guys are living with.
Or dying with.
After reviewing the play, the ball hit the Redskins receiver, number 34, in the foot. The ball belongs to Carolina. First down. Washington will be charged with a second team timeout.
And man, by challenging that play and losing that challenge, the Redskins now only have one timeout remaining over the final 10 minutes and 4 seconds of this game.
And coaches, their records on challenge are now on the internet, and how good are you as a challenger? You got to challenge a hope against hope. He probably knew what it was, but don't you have to at least take the chance?
Now, see, I would go the other way. I mean, you have your coaches upstairs that are saying to you, hey, coach, this ball hit our guy. And if you challenge us, we're going to lose what might be a huge timeout later in this game.
If the coaches in the booth had that view, you'd be surprised at how little we actually get to see up in the booth. I've had more than my share of coaches. Oh, you know it happened that way, and then you look up and you go, what are you looking at, man? Well, we really didn't get a view. So, it's a confusing process sometimes.
So now first down for the Panthers at the Redskins 12-yard line, trailing by 5. This is Jonathan Stewart. And he's inside the 10, down to the 7-yard line. Got a good lead block from Brad Hoover. Hoover's been doing that since signing as an undrafted free agent out of Western Carolina 11 seasons ago. He's been a good player.
Well, and if you're going to throw the ball here, you'd love to run it in. But this is why I keep coming back to it. The big receivers of the Carolina Panthers, the tight ends, Musa Muhammad, are so attractive here because you can kind of just throw it in the general area.
They're going to run it again to Stewart, and he sniffs the end zone. Touchdown, Jonathan Stewart.
They're going to go for 2 here, Tom.
First lead of the game for the Carolina Panthers. And now they'll go for 2 to try to make it a 3-point lead.
And this is a no-brainer. We talked about when you go for a 2-point. You're in the 4th quarter. You're under 10 minutes. You make it a field goal differential rather than the extra point, kicking it here, making it just a 2-point differential. So clearly this is the thing to do.
Be the first try on a 2-point conversion this season for Carolina. What would you do here? I mean, you ran it well right there for a couple of plays anyway.
They got an offset back here. They're either going to run that quick trap trying to make the defense think they are going to throw it, or again they're going to come to one of their big receivers. I'd bet the trap right here. And I'd be wrong.
Steve Smith, 2-point conversion, 3-point lead.
That's a tough throw down there. You got a lot of bodies, arms up by the defensive line. That's a good throw. A lot of things can go wrong with that play, but obviously went right there. Get the ball in the hands of your playmaker. Little pick screen. Of course, you're not allowed to pick on the goal line. I'm sure that's what the Redskins are yelling right now. But again, those big receivers being able to block off. Here comes on the outside. You can see on the inside. This is what I'm talking about. Gets awful crowded. Gets awful crowded in here to throw this type of pass. Oh, I'm sorry. First the touchdown. I'm sorry. I was going right to the 2-point. Everybody wadded up on the inside. Now we come back on the 2-point play. Or not. John Fox, obviously this is their kind of game. When you're committed to the running game, you're committed to play action passes, playing good defense. This is the kind of game you train your players to absorb, because it's going to be games just like this, down to the wire. Maybe less than a touchdown separates you from winning and losing.
Still a long way to go. 9:21 to play. Hammered into the end zone by Reese Lloyd. And the Redskins get the football at their own 20.
Now we'll look at the 2. I got the order here now. This is what I'm talking about. Bring your attention over into here. There's a lot of bodies to make this kind of throw down on the goal line, but this is a good call. The good thing about it is you're going to get it in the hands of your receiver real quick and count on his athleticism to get in. Delhome's fired up. That's as easy a touchdown, or in this case a 2-point conversion, but as easy a score on an easy a throw as you're going to make.
First down. They give it to Clinton Portis, and he is met immediately by Nile Diggs. That'll be a gain of 3 on first down.
Now the impulse you have to fight if you're the Redskins, you got to remind yourself it's a 3-point game. You have 9 minutes. Everything's going Carolina's way right now. They're at home. You got to fight that impulse to just put it up, drop back pass. You got time to, whatever your basic game plan is, you got time to stay with it.
Called a gain of 4 for second down and 6, and they'll give it to Portis again. And very close to a first down. Needed to get to the 30. He looks to be right on it. And they might spot it about 3 inches short. Nope, they say first down.
And that's exactly what Washington and Jim Zorn and the Redskins are doing right now, opening up with 2 runs, recognizing we can stay with our game plan right now. We don't have to get into a 2-minute mode. We don't have to throw it every down. 2 good solid runs. Use the entire playbook right now. Stand in a basic I formation. You can see they're trying to build that box we talked about. Jason Campbell checking, ran out of time.
And that is the final timeout in the game for the Redskins.
He saw the safety working down in the box. He knew what he wanted to get to. He wanted to take advantage of that single coverage we talk about, but the clock caught him.
Got a question for you. If you're Jim Zorn right now, there's 8:01 left to play. We don't have a crystal ball that'll happen, you know, what will happen the rest of the way. But are you bothered by the fact that you now have no timeouts left in this game right now?
Not right now, but my next possession, yeah. I'm very upset I don't have a timeout because that limits my options.
Of course, a failed challenge cost him one of those timeouts. First down, they give it to Portis. Oh, he was a step away from a monster run, tripped up by Beeson.
I want you to watch the safeties moving around going forward here, Tom, because it is now that classic chess match between Jason Campbell and, on the defensive side, Ron Meeks calling the defenses for Carolina, trying to get Jason Campbell to recheck this play, get him to think too much. Basic formation, they're trying to identify what this safety is doing.
2nd and 6, Santana Moss. A first down to the 43.
And that's the chess game. If the safety comes down, I know I have one-on-one coverage, all but a zone coverage on the outside. I'm going to have free access to the receivers. I want to run when I think that safety's going to stay high, and I want to throw the ball when he comes down and builds the box, whether it's 43 Chris Harris or occasionally dropping down number 30 Charles Godfrey.
Under 7 minutes to go. Campbell looking for Devin Thomas. Just off the fingertips. He was looking for a flag that did not come.
Well, that hit Devin Thomas right in the hands. There again, they had the 8-man front, had the play dialed up they wanted. One-on-one on the outside. Nice loft on the ball by Jason Campbell, giving his receiver a chance to get underneath it, get his hands on it. Now you just got to finish the play off.
Randall in motion. Portis met by a host of Panthers. They're going to spot it at the 47-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd down and 7 for the Redskins.
On this down and distance, probably put Jason Campbell in the gun, and you better have 2 people on Julius Peppers. I would not try to get too fancy here. Either a tight end presence or a back chipping to that side. Somebody's got to help on Julius Peppers on that right side, and on this right side over here, and my left side tackle just got to hold up.
Out to the 49-yard line is Campbell, under heavy pressure from Charles Johnson primarily that time. Everett Brown also there, and the Redskins have to punt it.
Here I think you're going to see uniquely the pressure coming inside on Jason Campbell, and quarterbacks hate this inside pressure because it gets right up in their face. Just kind of a lunge for it, staying alive in the pocket.
Pakalak punts it away to Kenneth Moore, a fair catch at the 12. So here we are with 5:17 to play. Carolina has rallied to take a 3-point lead. And now Jake Delhomme trying to put together a lengthy drive and put this one away for what would be the first win this season for the Panthers. First down give to D'Angelo Williams, and a good pickup on first down. Well, both of these quarterbacks have been trying to dodge bullets all afternoon. Campbell has been sacked, well, we're told 4 times, and 3 times for Jake Delhomme.
but that's 10 more either hits or hurries in the case of Campbell, and 7 for Jake Delhomme. Those hits and hurries can be as effective as a sack.
Second and 3. Williams did not get a first down. So to bring up 3rd down and 2, this is a huge play in this game as we're winding under 4.5.
And for no other reason than, as you started out, they needed a lengthy drive. Yeah, a lengthy scoring drive if you can get it, but you want to suck some time off this clock. If Washington can force this 3 and out, they've got plenty of time to stay within their offensive design to try to move the ball down into scoring position.
Carolina 2 of 10 on 3rd down. 0 for their last 6. The pitch to Williams. And that second effort may have gotten the job done. That's a first down.
That's huge. Great job by the fullback kicking out. He's gobbled up here, and it's just that last little lunge. He had not given that last little lunge. I don't think we'd have had the distance for the first down. Be very surprised to see Carolina not run the ball on 1st and 2nd down here.
And again, you got to remember the Redskins have no timeouts left in this game. First down carry to D'Angelo Williams will burn another 40 seconds off the clock as Carolina's going to let that thing run down every down. Well, we thought the running game would be a big part of the equation for each of these teams. After all, last year, that's what each of these teams did best. Don't look like great numbers, but they got it done when it mattered, especially on that last drive by Jonathan Stewart.
And the commitment to the run that we've been talking about the whole day. Carolina is never going to get away from that. And right now, it's the difference in the ball game. They're in their 4-minute offense. They can get this under 2 minutes and get a first down. The game's over.
Stewart. Nowhere to go. Back to the line of scrimmage. 3rd down again. And this one a lengthier 3rd down.
Well, they'll bring this down to the 2-minute.
That will take us to the 2-minute warning. You convert a first down here, convert a 3rd down here, you pretty much put it on ice. Would you dare think about passing the ball here?
You can put the game away with a first down conversion. I think they'll run the ball, but it'd be a great place for a quick play action pass down the field, get the first down, and get the win.
Again, the Redskins are out of timeout, so if the Panthers convert on 3rd down,
they're all stacked up. They're ready for the run now. They got everybody and their mother there to stop the run.
And look at this. Bootleg. And that is a first down run by Jake Delhomme. He got tangled up with D'Angelo Hall, but knowing Jake Delhomme, that's all about heart and desire to get to that first down marker.
And that's an all or nothing call. You convert it or he gets sacked. You haven't lost any of the time, and you're no worse off for not having run the ball. Great call, great execution. And right now, John Fox and Jeff Davidson are thinking that's the longest 10-yard run in the history of football.
And now with Washington out of timeouts, Carolina will burn the final 1 minute and 11 seconds and begin to celebrate in the Tar Heel State the Panthers' first win of this season.
John Fox is fired up. Jake Delhomme, they all know what this means. We've been talking the whole game about what a loss would mean, Tom.
And what does a loss mean now for Jim Zorn? I mean, there is already turmoil. You had players exchanging words. You brought in a set of eyes to help the offense improve. An offense which scores 17 here today. You live in that area. That's a tough town to be 2-3.
It is, and that organization traditionally has kind of brought it on themselves all that speculation is going to be abound as to what they're going to do.
So Jim Zorn and the Redskins go to 2-3. The Panthers 1-3.